Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started. I'm Councillor Alejandra Bravo, and I'm the chair of the Economic and Community Development Committee. We have quorum, and I'm now calling meeting 19 to order. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is being held by video conference and in person at City Hall in Committee Room 1. The meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. To start, we'd like to acknowledge the land that we're on and recognize that we're meeting in different locations. The Economic and Community Development Committee would like to acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, the Mississaugas of the Credit, Anishinaabe, Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Also want to acknowledge for the city that that we are all treaty peoples, including those who came here as settlers, as migrants, either in this generation or in generations past, and those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. We pay tribute to those ancestors of African origin and descent. If you are registered to speak at today's meeting, please listen for me to call your name. I will call speakers in the order they appear on the list. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Economic and Community Development Committee page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Members, the city clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on CMP, the clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff are available to members if you need help with your devices. I also want to remind members to please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at ecdc@toronto.ca to help with motions. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none, we will proceed. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our meeting on February 26, 2025? Thank you. Councillor Moyse moves that. All in favor? That's approved. And now we can proceed to our agenda review. The first item is EC 19.1, Activities and Initiatives to Support Naturally Occurring Retirement Communities in Toronto, and that's held for speakers. EC 19.2 is Supporting Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation tenants through City of Toronto programs and services. That's held for speakers. EC 19.3, Access to Outdoor Ovens in Toronto Parks. That's held for speakers. EC 19.4, Monitoring Update, Alcohol in Parks. Would anyone like to hold that? Would anyone like to move that? Oh, okay, we're gonna give that one to Councillor Fletcher to move. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. EC 19.4, monitoring update. Oh, I just did that one. Right, regrets. EC 19.5, addressing dangerous dogs, response to 2024 EC 16.3, and that's held for speakers. And EC 19.6, changes to the Mount Pleasant Village Business Improvement Area Board of Management. Are there any questions about this? No. Thank you. That's moved by the Vice Chair. All in favor? And that's unanimous. EC 19.7, Business Improvement Areas BIA's 2025 Operating Budgets Report 2. That's moved by Vice Chair Carroll. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. EC 19.8, Inventory of City Delivered Services Offered in French, Feasibility Study. We're going to hold that.
I have a motion prepared, unless anybody has other questions.
Are there any questions?
I can move it quickly.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Is it ready for, oh, it is. It is ready. This is really just changing the time frame to acknowledge the insane workload right now that is being caused by the White House. This will get done, but we need to align it with some of the other tasks that need to be done in the more immediate. And so I'm just really just changes the recommendation from 25 to 26. Thank you.
Thank you. And as a president of the Francophone Affairs Committee, or la présidente, or the chair, I should say in English, I want to acknowledge the significant work of this committee. There have been so much engagement and so much advocacy, and a recognition and understanding that social services were once provincial responsibility, and when they were downloaded to municipalities, the accompanying budget to allow their provision in French was not given, and to municipalities across Ontario in a very difficult situation in which we're the only province where this level of government delivers social services and social housing. So I do want to thank the advocacy of the committee and recognize that this is before us because of them. Now on the motion. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you to the Vice Chair. EC 19.9, requesting update on rejoining the Association Française des Municipalités de l'Ontario. Are there any questions? So I would like to move that, if I may just say a couple of words. This is excellent news. Now that Toronto has joined the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, it's absolutely right and overdue that we join AFMO. As I said before, there needs to be a unified municipal voice in this province to ensure that the historic and ongoing obligations to Francophone Ontarians are fulfilled through the provision of services. And this is a really important advocacy voice, and I hope that all will support this request from the Francophone Affairs Committee. Any other speakers? All in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. So we are going to go to our first item, 19.1, activities and initiatives to support naturally occurring retirement communities in Toronto. And I will call our speaker, Catherine Lemke. Catherine Lemke is online. Are you ready to speak?
Unmute.
Catherine Lemke?
You pressed her video, Dad?
Yes, thank you. You have 5 minutes. You may proceed. You have 5 minutes to speak.
So she is. My mother is in her 80s.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Economic Community Development, for giving me the chance to voice my worries. My name is Catherine Lemke, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of myself, my neighbours, and all seniors in New Toronto, Etobicoke. I have lived, worked, volunteered and raised my family here for over 50 years. It is my home and the place I wish to retire peacefully and safely. I'm speaking to you today regarding agenda number EC19, Naturally Occurring Retirement Communities, or NORC. My home is part of NORC. I want to be safe and be able to remain in my home. I'm speaking today because I fear my NORC community will no longer be safe once the mega shelter is proposed by the city will house 80 adults across the street from my home. I was not consulted about this nor allowed to attend the seniors meeting at Woods Manor, also across the street from my home. I live meters from the site and yet have not qualified for a single information session. I tried to attend one at Woods Manor and was prevented by Bruce Davis of Public Progress. I had been invited by a senior resident of Woods Manor. The previously promised in-person town hall has been changed to virtual. As a senior, like many seniors, I am not comfortable with technology. I am here today in this room with you by video with the help of others, my husband, my daughter, and another neighbour. The local seniors have been denied our rights to equitable engagement throughout this process, which further makes us feel unsafe in the communities that we wish to remain in. The shelter will offer 24/7 harm reduction, which to my understanding is worse than a safe injection site. It means that drug supplies such as needles, glass cracked pipes, are handed out to the shelter residents.
Sorry,
But all
I would
drug-based
ask that you
substances
focus your words.
which
Excuse
given the
me, just I'm
proximity to
pausing
my
your
home
time.
is
Can you
right across the street,
please
as well
direct
as the
your
back door
remarks
and
to
the
what's
balcony
before
and
us?
parking lot for the seniors at the TSHC residence, with over 100 seniors who oppose the shelter, and also likely the park that many of us seniors' children use at the end of our dead-end street. To see how this would impact my North community, I asked a friend to research some existing shelters and harm reduction facilities. At each location, she said there were people smoking glass crack pipes, injectable drugs, open drug deals between individuals and dealers, and people running off the sidewalk into the traffic. I could see my fears about my community were valid. Sadly, they were not only confirmed but magnified. As an older woman, I fear being intimidated as I walk to park, doctor, or bank. As a senior, part of my health and mental health is directly tied to my ability to walk around my neighbourhood. It is the same for many of the other seniors in this neighbourhood. Part of creating safe, naturally occurring retirement communities means we need to be able to safely walk for leisure and to the local shops. Not a week goes by when I do not hear of a story of a stabbing or assault, and I worry that this might happen to me, my husband, and neighbours. While not all unhoused have mental health or addiction issues, CAMH, the experts in that field, claim that nearly half do. And even if it's a smaller number, it is simply too much for this little retirement community to absorb. Without a doubt, this sort of shelter will attract drug dealers eager to fill the needles and pipes. Will I become a prisoner in my own home? Will I need to install cameras and other security devices to feel safe in my home? My daughter shared a quote from Councillor Josh Matlow. I would like to share with you the quote. While more affordable housing is needed to address the housing crisis, it is imperative that the quality of life of existing and future residents is equally prioritised. I cannot imagine why any official seeing the small space and the seniors next door and the first residential house on the other side, on his driveway the fence sits, would ever think that this was a viable spot for this sort of complex. It is much smaller than the minimum footage that the Toronto Shelter Services claims it needs for a successful shelter. The city should look elsewhere for a shelter location, one that does not place the most vulnerable members of our
10
community,
seconds.
including seniors, families, and children. There's a school one block over, 2nd Street, over 100 children. We have a kindergarten another street over. There are other
Please
ways to
wrap up.
support the homeless and those in need, but it cannot be at the expense and safety and well-being of the seniors who have already built their lives here and
That
wish
is
to age
time.
safely in their homes.
Ma'am, you're
I
over
urge
your time.
Council to reconsider the
Okay.
proposal.
Let's just,
On the issue of safety,
I don't
Police
think
Constable
yeah.
Jim of 22
I'm sorry, I'm
Division,
going to have to
and I
mute you
quote,
because you're over your time and you don't seem to be able to hear me. Are there any, can, can, okay, so this, unfortunately, this deputant would need another several minutes, which isn't allowed in our procedure. Are there any speakers? We're not able to ask questions of the deputant at this time. Okay, are there any speakers on this item?
Sorry, Councillor Chair Bravo.
Yes.
Is there an opportunity to ask questions of staff?
Yes, sorry about that. I realized that I hadn't done that. Vice Chair Carroll and then Councillor Cannaville.
I do have questions. Read the report. I wasn't surprised to see the large swaths of my ward having the highest concentration, because it sort of came to me all at once, because that portion of my ward is the portion that I acquired when we doubled the size of the ward. So your eyes are open to it all in one fell swoop. But I'm wondering, I read the report with interest in all the initiatives, I do my own communication of the own initiative. Staff know about that I put out my own seniors guide. I don't see something like that in this report, though. What is the communication plan beyond this report for seniors to understand the length and breadth of what we're doing?
Chair,
Hi.
so we do have a seniors guide that we make available throughout the city, and we are working on the senior strategy for the third one, where we are currently doing consultations, wrapping that up, and we did online consultations. We did pop-ups as well to hear from seniors, and we are hoping to release that next year, early part of next year, and have a good, strong communication plan to engage all seniors as we go into the third senior strategy.
Okay. And the seniors guide we have is that sort of, it's a big, thick thing.
Yes, correct.
Are we doing anything about changing that to something that is user-friendly, big print, and very, very succinct on each of the points?
Yes.
The reason I'm asking, it's a loaded question, but the reason I'm asking is, the reason I started producing this was the feedback we were getting is, oh, that's a big thing that I don't know how to use, so I go to talk to people who serve seniors and they use it. Are we doing anything that could really be refreshed every year, but is short and takes into account that you know, how someone who's 85 absorbs information, which is not a big tome full of point form things, but how easily can I read it and find the phone number?
Yes.
Are we
Chair?
doing anything like that as an upgrade?
Yes, we are currently looking at revising or translating it into different languages, as well as looking at putting it online so that it is accessible and AODA compliant. And we will continue to engage with community to ensure that they can receive that information in the best manner that suits the seniors in our community. So we'll continue to consult and revise.
Okay. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you. And now Councillor Candeville, questions of staff.
Thank you, Chair Bravo, and through you. Thank you for this report. Very helpful to understand some of the realities and facts around seniors in our city. As some of you in the room may know, a few of us went to Taiwan recently, and there are many lessons learned. And what was interesting was an approach by a lot of East Asian countries to provide tax incentives for I believe there are property tax incentives for families that accommodated or housed their parent or parents with them, with I guess the middle-aged family. Is that a consideration, or can that be pursued as part of a bigger picture approach to how we promote and provide incentives for multi-generational housing, given the public health positive outcomes that come from it?
Chair, yes, we are considering that as we do continue our engagements around developing the senior strategy, the third one, which is focused on aging in place. So there will be some clear recommendations around these sort of initiatives that you're talking about that our seniors identify in community that will help support them to remain.
Thank you. That's hopeful. And just to dive a bit deeper, certainly aging in place within their current homes is important, ideal for those who seek it. For those, and this is, I guess, culturally predominantly in Asian families that are looking to move in or currently are living with their children, and I guess the third generation perhaps, is that being I guess pursued further to incentivize using city financial tools to is that on the table for consideration, I guess?
Chair, yes, that will also be explored. The third senior strategy will be a 10-year strategy, so we are looking at, when we engage with seniors, to have innovative solutions that will help to support them aging in place. So that will be looked at as well.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canaville. Any other questions of staff? To speak? Vice Chair Carroll.
Yeah, I asked about the seniors guide and waved this around. Lots of councillors know about it because I think some of my colleagues have taken it and lifted the idea and done it. What we're looking for is something with, probably Councillor Royce and Councillor Malley can read the print from this bar. What I've learned about seniors from my parents, from my husband's parents, and now all the seniors that I'm honored to serve in my ward is we talk about, we don't have to worry about, we're putting things online because, people are more computer literate now. But what I'm learning is that, yes, they acquire those skills, but because they're not like young people where they're so ingrained from such an early age, they're almost intrinsic at this point, tech skills. If you learn them halfway through your life, as part of the rapid aging process, they start to disappear. You may have been computer conversant, and then suddenly around the age of 83, 84, 85, those skills, they can slip away, they disappear. It's not uncommon. It's like, if you're speaking a language as your second language, sometimes those skills sort of disappear around that same time, 83, 84, 85. Wait a minute, I'm having trouble understanding this person, and I could a few years ago. Those things slip away. And so basically what I had to do, I took the seniors guide and picked all the stuff out of it and put it in giant font and made it clear, this is what we do briefly, and here's the phone number you need to phone to get further. And I can barely afford this thing anymore because it is so in demand. And we're fairly lenient. People come from the wards all around my ward and say, can we have 10 of those? We have 100 of those. Someone said, can you just give me a big box of 500 and I'll print them out? I don't have that kind of budget. But there's clearly a demand because there's a frenzy, not just in Don Valley North, but in Scarborough, in Councillor Mantis's ward. I've had people come over when I'm at the Van Horn Plaza and say, can we have some of those pink seniors guides all the way over to south to Don Valley West? This is clearly needed. And the reason I raise it today is this is the perfect juncture. Here we are with this data knowing where we need it most. And we have actually, what I really appreciate in the report is that we've really now boiled down, these are all the things we're doing in things as sort of high concept, nobody really fully appreciates, like what we're doing in Vision Zero, has a senior's lens on it, all those things. I think this is a moment in time in which they've done such a good inventory of how very much they do in those naturally occurring communities that we need to do this and put it in those hands, not just the service providers, but the people actually receiving the services and benefiting from them. So I'm happy, steal my idea, just take it and copy it and put different colors on it. I don't care, it's needed. So that's what I'm hoping comes from this, is that now that we've done this work, we make sure the actual people benefiting from it get the communications loud and clear in a way that they're able to process them. Thanks, those are my comments. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Canaville to speak.
Thank you, Chair Bravo, and thank you to staff for this report. Credible relevance and value, especially as the facts show our aging population and the need to plan strategically to accommodate and make life better for them. I wanted to commend, two pieces from the report that I think were really valuable. One is, especially here in Scarborough, the value our strip malls play. They are, in fact, we even had a movie made out of the Wexford strip mall plaza. So that is a real amenity for so many seniors that seek closer amenities, such as commercial retail. So I was happy to see that addressed in the report. It is an ongoing tension we see within planning. We're seeing the loss of a lot of sites of plaza strip malls for redevelopment, and without the accompanying commercial retail space and accessibility for seniors. So I appreciate that, because it is certainly a tension between the need for housing and making complete communities, especially for those who are older. And part of this also, I think, needs to be reflected in my earlier comments and questions about providing incentives for seniors to age in place with their families. And I think that is part of the C of A review where we're doing the Committee of Adjustment review to see how we can adjust certain perhaps rules to again incentivize multi-generational living. And lastly, the comments around public realm are greatly appreciated, especially in some of our older established Scarborough neighborhoods where there are no sidewalks. So the indications for improvement surrounding public realm are, I think, very necessary and appreciated. So thank you, staff, and looking forward to connecting with Seniors Division to kind of to further drill down into some of the potential ideas and policy implications coming out of this report, as well as looking to engage with seniors in Scarborough in my ward, where English is not the first language, where I want those kind of lived experiences shared with our staff as this work continues. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Candeval. Any other speakers? Seeing none on the item, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you to speakers and councillors for your words. 19.2, supporting Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation tenants through City of Toronto programs and services. We have 3 speakers. The first speaker is Nadine Straupel, Woods Manor. Nadine online?
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Woods Manor is a low-income seniors resident that's part of Toronto Senior Housing Corporation. My name is Nadine Straupel, and I'm a resident of Woods Manor, a TSHC building. I'm here representing the 145 other residents that already fear for our safety and have not been receiving the support and services from TSHC that we require. I've spent 15 months trying to get help to address issues that the building is having due to a drug dealer, also a senior, that lives in our building and has brought extreme mental distress and fear to me and others as a result of his criminal activity in the building. I requested a transfer to another unit on a different floor from him, but my request was acknowledged with, quote, "You can apply, but you won't get it," unquote. There are specific reasons for transfers to be approved, but living 2 doors from a drug dealer isn't one of them. There's a group, Food for Now, that sets up outside of our building and blocks the entrance and inhibits folks with scooters and canes from accessing the building. We can't access taxis and wheel-trans when they are here. The police can't help us. When I've called the special constables, it takes hours for them to show up, if at all. This agenda item focuses on residents' ability to access services and maintain safety. We need help and have needed help for more than a year, but have not gotten it. I'm speaking today to bring your attention to some of the safety concerns that 146 vulnerable tenants have been left to deal with alone. It's for these reasons that I and the dozens of other residents that signed these letters are extremely afraid of the shelter that's being proposed only 9 meters from our senior housing complex. Woods Manor is full of vulnerable seniors. Some can't navigate government documents or forms for lack of English. Most don't have computers, smartphones, or the internet, and many are fearful to share their opinions on this matter. Many of the residents are fearful because they receive government support. This issue has galvanized our building. We've seen what damage one drug dealer can do to our safety, mental health, and emotional well-being. TSHC has not helped in any of the safety issues I've mentioned already, despite seniors imploring for help. As a result, I don't have any faith that TSHC will be able to maintain my nor my neighbor's safety. when an 80 to 100 bed emergency homeless shelter with harm reduction is built within 9 meters of our balconies, down the street from a park, beside a bungalow, and near schools and daycares. Our community is already grappling with a high crime rate. The single drug dealer in our building has made me afraid to leave my apartment, even in the daytime, when I hear his associates banging on his door and yelling to get in. A shelter that distributes drug paraphernalia for use outside its facility, like harm reduction sites do, contributes to increased unsafe behavior, especially given the high percentage of shelter residents struggling with addiction and mental health issues. This would escalate the safety concerns we're already experiencing. Furthermore, the proposed shelter beside Woods Manor will negatively impact local businesses. Us seniors, many of whom have mobility challenges, we rely on businesses that are within a 3 to 4 block radius. If these businesses close, it would be detrimental to our survival. I've spoken with several local business owners who say that they will leave the area for fear of the impact of criminal activity. This agenda item looks at how the city will help TSHC feel safe and access services. If the local businesses close and leave, how will this help us access our services and keep us safe and healthy? I already stressed how my and my neighbors' mental health and well-being has been severely impacted by the crime in our building. Continuous construction of the shelter will impact our health in an extreme and negative way, from the constant noise, dust, trucks, and exhaust. Health, mental health, EMS, and police services in New Toronto are oversaturated and struggling to meet the needs of the current population. LAMP community has a 6 to 8 month wait list just to see if you'll be taken on as a patient. Adding 80 to 100 additional people to this area, many with complex health and mental health challenges, would further overwhelm these services. Concentrating shelters in low-income neighborhoods like New Toronto, and more specifically 9 meters from a low-income seniors resident, perpetuates systemic inequities. Many of my neighbors aren't comfortable speaking up about this for fear of reprisal or a negative impact on their own housing situation. The act of not having a safe place to live doesn't make a person dangerous, but we need to speak realistically and look at what we know and have learned from other similar situations.
10 seconds.
People coming and going through central intake and no sobriety requirements among a population that unfortunately has a high rate of addiction is a recipe for disaster. In conclusion, I urge the city to cancel the proposed shelter and authorize city staff to find an alternative location and actively listen
Please
to
wrap up.
residents of Woods Manor. We already have drug and safety issues.
Thank you.
Help us make it safe.
Thank you. Questions of the deputant? Seeing none, the next speaker is Bill Lohman. Online. Welcome to committee, Bill Lohman. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Economic and Community Development Committee. And thank you for this opportunity to speak on item 9.2. My name is Bill Lohman, and I've been an active and engaged tenant leader throughout the tenant first restructure of Toronto Community Housing and the senior entity transition to the 83 senior buildings into the Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation. I'm a passionate advocate for the concerns of senior tenants. I'm a member of the STAC. I'm a NORC ambassador and a tenant member of the North Toronto Neighborhood Care Team Working Group. During the past 4 years, we have seen an amazing effort and accomplishment by a handful of dedicated staff with limited funds and with the support of the city and the divisions and the agencies that are coming into the buildings to establish the foundational structure for the new senior housing with an integrated service model approach and a community connect plus engagement model. And this has all been done in a whirlwind of time-sensitive decision-making at the executive and board levels to make this all happen. Now the attention is starting to move from the brick and mortar and the policy development phase to focus on integrating the services and supports into the buildings and implementing housing's tenant-facing policies. with the procedures and guidelines to inform tenants about the use of space policies and the expectations for tenant volunteers supporting the community activity funds for activities and community events. I would just like to say that as somebody who's been involved with many different, from the beginning, we have, there is an issue, as you heard from the previous deputant. You know, there is a real communication issue with tenants getting responses back on the issues that that connect to seniors. And a lot of that is it's about communication and a lack of direct communication and tenant involvement. And I think that we're at a point where we need to focus on senior housing. We need to focus on how these services are being implemented and how they are being received by the tenants in the buildings. And I believe that it's a good time to consider a more studied approach to get the better insights on how the Community Connect Plus is rolling out and the expectations of tenants and how this is connecting with agencies in the integrated service model at the ground level, and understanding how this all impacts tenants positively and negatively. One of the things that we're trying to do in the Northwest, and I've been very fortunate to be involved with Baycrest Hospital, is that we've been involved with the interprofessional care team going back before COVID and through COVID. And what we've put together is to help facilitate these services and connecting with housing and to the tenants. We created a roundtable, which is a bi-monthly hour-long meeting where we bring the different agencies and staff and the medical folks. Like we have a nurse who's here once a week, a social worker who's here once a week. We've brought in exercise programming, and we are working on trying to have tenant-led programming. It is very important, I think, to remember that we need to be aware of the for you but not with you approach. Because at the building level, that's how it comes across to tenants. Because they've not really been involved or have any understanding or knowing about
10 seconds.
About the work that's been going on with the agencies and the cities and the and the province to create the integrated service model. So I would just hope that we can keep in mind that tenants need to have agency, and tenants need to have a certain sense of autonomy in their communities.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your time.
Are there any questions of the deputant? Councillor Fletcher, questions of the deputant.
Hi, Bill. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you for your work. I just wanted you to comment on a couple of things because I know you've been so involved. The Senior Tenant Advisory Committee, do you still consider that that's an important feature of the seniors' housing to maintain that, to get that kind of advice, for management to get that advice?
Thank you for the question. I'm hoping, I'm hopeful. Right now, I've been involved in the process with the city and housing. We just interviewed 40 or so potential stack members. The original idea, we wanted to create a stack that had 24 members, which would have 6 members from each region of the city so seniors would have a much better voice at the stack level. I think there's still questions about exactly what the role of STAC is or what it will be. But I do believe that in the structure that's put together for the Community Connect Plus model.
Great. And the stack is mandated by the city, the shareholder.
Correct.
As you understand. Can I just ask something, because I'm interested in what one of the other deputants said, just about having disruptive situations in a building where you have a drug dealing. I've had that in one of my buildings. You may know the one. And what does STAC discuss that? How do those issues come up? Because I think that is a very serious concern for seniors. What's your expectation? What happens now? What advice are you able to give? And how do you, is there any tracking mechanism that STAC is advocating for to deal with these very difficult situations for seniors?
Councillor Fletcher, I think to answer that, I actually hear more conversation about those issues at the regional meetings than at the STAC.
Okay.
So the STAC has been primarily focused on advising on policies and, you know, development and advising on procedures.
I see.
So
I'll
my
check
hope
and
would
see
be,
if that's its role. I'm going to check Bill and see. So when
my hope would be that that would be the role, that those are very serious issues that seniors have. And I would hope that the STAC would be a forum, you know, for discussion and hopefully ways to approach these issues in buildings, because it is very serious, and one person can disrupt a building of hundreds of people.
Yes.
And make them all uncomfortable and unsafe. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of the deputant? Seeing none, we'll go on to the third deputant, Miguel Avila, online.
Yeah. Everything, they're driving so hard for the Carver model everywhere.
Miguel Avila?
Hello?
Welcome. You have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity to address the committee. My name is Miguel. I'm a resident TCSC Family and Single Division. 3-4 years ago, the corporation split up in 2 divisions, the Tenant Seniors Division, which are discussing today ways to help them by providing more services for seniors, which is a great idea. I'm hearing comments from the deputants that it's not as easy as they thought it will be. However, I want you to remind you that many seniors living in the single and family division, we don't have currently the proper services to support us. Last month, I turned 60 years old, and I'm very close to become a senior in 5 years. I found out if you want to move from the tenant TCSC's single family division to the tenant senior division, you have to reapply as an outsider, and that takes up to 10 years of time. And I mentioned this to the Toronto Ombudsman as well, that it seems there is a systemic problem. There shouldn't be no barriers for someone who is from the family single units to transfer to the senior division. But that's the way it is. Apparently, they didn't take that under advice or consideration for those who want to transfer to a senior building. In the meantime, I understand that 220 Oak Street was given to $30 million for a tower renewal project that would involve incorporating medical offices, support
I'm sorry, please speak to the item before us. This is
Yes,
about, the item before us is about us supporting Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation tenants through City of Toronto programs and services.
Well, yes, you are the shareholder. I'm talking to you, the shareholder of the TCAC.
Sorry, unfortunately, that Toronto Community Housing Corporation is not before this committee, so can you speak to the item, which is supporting Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation tenants through City of Toronto programs and services?
Well, don't forget that we are also getting old and aging in those buildings that we don't have services. That concludes my deputation.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the deputant? Seeing none. Now we're going to questions of staff.
There's one more speaker that we added.
Oh, sorry, there's one more speaker added. That's Bruce Davis. Just walked in. You have 5 minutes, and like I've reminded everyone, please speak to the item today.
I will. Thank you very much. How's my audio? Good. Bruce Davis. I'm with a company called Public Progress, and we work with municipalities, nonprofit organizations to develop housing plans, finance housing, go through the entire project management, development consulting, and community engagement. The reason I'm here, and this actually relates to Woods Manor, which is one of your Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation buildings. You had a comment earlier from one of the deputants, and I happened to be listening, so I figured I'd come down just to answer her point. One of your earlier deputants made reference to the fact that she believes that I precluded her from attending a public session. So I was attending at Woods Manor, which is Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation building. We were doing lobby intercepts and coffees and conversation with seniors in a Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation building, talking about an important community issue. About 20 neighborhood residents tried to gain access to Woods Manor. They were not tenants. They were not invited. This was a session for Woods Manor, and Woods Manor, we had coffee and refreshments on January the 10th and January the 14th. As I said, 20 people showed up, and then on the 14th, another 20 people showed up, even though they weren't invited, and they were trying to influence the city's decision around the location of a shelter. We explained to these folks that they were not invited, and we were in the foyer, a very, very small glass enclosure, and they were essentially trying to push their way in. And I indicated they were not invited and they should leave. On February the 10th, we had another public drop-in session, and the individual who was here was in line, and she's elderly, and I asked her to come out of the line, moved her to the front of the line so that she could attend the public drop-in session. So the reason I'm here is I'm happy to be criticized. Our firm, we do a lot of important work, and you always get criticized for whatever you do. But sometimes you just have to call it out. And it was vital to us that we listen to the residents of Woods Manor without them being harangued or harassed by neighbors. This has happened to us at other sites. It's happened to us at Willowdale Manor, where all kinds of characters trying to force their way in when you're trying to have coffee and conversation with the seniors. So this is tangentially related to this agenda item, Madam Chair, but I'm here because I think it's important that we be accurate and that I call people out when they try to spread misinformation.
Thank you. Questions of the deputant, Councillor Fletcher.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. So I'm sure that in this consultation that you're doing that, you didn't just drop into the manor, that you ran that through management.
100%.
Toronto Seniors,
Correct.
Community Housing, at whatever level. And once there had been the meeting takeover attempt, the first one, was there community safety officers that were asked to be there at the second meeting to help manage those coming from outside or not?
So for the first meeting, we had our staffing, and we managed it, and I spent 2 hours outside trying to mitigate and manage and talk to the neighbors. I didn't actually think they would have the audacity to come back, because the second event was 4 days later, and it was evident that they were not invited, but they showed up anyway. So we had to change our staffing, and we moved some of our staff outside. One of our staff, who actually normally does media relations work, ended up standing outside for 2 hours, talking to angry neighbors to keep them engaged and to talk to them. So no, we did not engage. We did not bring in security. We did not bring in security. We didn't feel, we felt we could manage it.
I'm good, because I'm going to ask that question. That is seniors meeting in the seniors building, in any apartment building, generally, that's for those folks, unless it's a public meeting. It was not a.
It was a lobby intercept with coffee, conversation.
It was not a public meeting.
It wasn't even a meeting. It was come on down and find out more about what's happening.
For the seniors.
Correct.
For those.
And that's what the poster said, Councillor. Come on down.
I understand. I was at Cummer when that happened,
Yes,
as you'll
yeah.
remember. And there are many mayoralty candidates there. They did leave at that time. So I'm going to be asking what the strategy is, because obviously there is a strategy, community strategy, and what's the seniors housing strategy when we're dealing with some of these things. And so that's fine. Thank you very much, and thank you for the clarification. I understand that sometimes it gets very difficult.
Thank you. Questions, Vice Chair, the Deputant?
I just want to ask through you, Madam Chair, to be clear, because Mr. Davis says your firm sort of specializes in seniors engagement. And there, as far as we know, there are best practices with regards to engagement, but not a lot of hard and fast laws and rules. But in terms of best practice, a lobby intercept is one of those best practices. I once had a development application that had become so, you know, there was an organized element of it, and people didn't feel safe to speak unless they had exactly the opinion of the organized group. So we invited street by street. I just let the ward know, I'm going to have a meeting for each street surrounding this development. There's no law against that, is there? You function on what are best practices in engagement. Is that sort of how you run?
It's context sensitive, Councillor.
Right.
You know, we've done Cummer Lodge, we've done Willowdale Manor, we've done the Woods Manor one. I've been working in seniors buildings. Some of it has to do with languages, how many translators or interpreters.
Yes.
But in this particular case, we thought that the coffee and conversation, low pressure, informal, come down when you get your mail, come and find out about the project. We thought that was a really good approach. It's not exclusive. There were many other things. We've done focus groups, we've done drop-in sessions, we've done online sessions. So some seniors love online, not all do. So you have to use a combination of tools to communicate.
Right, and they're all sort of part of the playbook of good engagement.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions of the Deputant? Thank you for coming. And that is the last speaker. Questions of staff? Councillor Fletcher?
Yes, I have a number of questions, but now I do have, I just have a question to the city about the stack. And that is a city-mandated advisory group, both at Toronto Community Housing and Toronto Seniors, correct? The shareholder has determined that.
Yeah, through the chair to the councillor, that's correct.
And the kind of scope of it, who decides that? Is there input from the tenants as to what they think is important for the stack? Is that left up to management at the Seniors Corporation and TCHC? I'm hearing it's just a policy discussion.
The stack has and will continue to evolve. It certainly has a, with the new Community Connect, it is one of 3 mechanisms to engage with tenants.
Sorry, just from the city's perspective, what did the shareholder say that was to do?
The stack was created to help develop a comprehensive tenant engagement strategy, multifaceted, to address citywide issues and to respond to issues that are prevalent across the portfolio.
Okay, so that still has a role. I'm very clear on what the city's role is. I'll speak about that after.
Thank you.
Because I need to make sure, and I may ask for that report here from STAC and TAC to make sure that it's not turned into a Carver model where it's just, here's our policy, please tell us if it's right. Because, and number two, and this probably is to you, Mr. Azuz, as the Deputy City Manager. We're just heard from tenants, we've heard about a shelter that's set in through the city, we've heard about the Seniors Corporation, we've heard about people crashing that from outside. I'm not sure there's a strategy that's a coordinated strategy regarding that, and I don't mean from the consultant, I mean from the city, because these are all city functions, and it's very concerning to me to hear there's no strategy, knowing that that's one of the things that's now quite common, crashing a meeting about a shelter and the neighbors coming. So what is the strategy that the city has at the moment in consultation with Toronto Seniors Corporation around these kinds of things? Is there one yet, or do we need to establish that?
Chair, I think we do have a coordinated approach on how we support this, but I think there's always opportunities to strengthen and engage with councillors on that approach.
Councillors?
And the
I
community.
don't think it's councillors. Were you aware that there was a takeover of all the consultation meetings by the neighborhood at Toronto Seniors Corporation? You aware of that before today?
Chair, I was not aware of those specifics.
Mr. Tunter, were you aware there was a community takeover of the meetings for the siting of the shelter? I know you are aware, and perhaps you're not aware of the Cummer takeover. There might have been more.
Yes,
Were you aware of that before today?
through the chair to the councillor, no, I was not.
Do I find that odd? Why would you not be aware that, and how would that not be aware that the city has citing a shelter? No, it's difficult. We have our housing corporation's sole shareholder. We have a shelter division. I think we're going to have somebody come back and tell us how that can happen. This is not a one-off. This is a strategy, and we don't have one apparently. Chair, I'll speak to that because we have to keep this one on the front burner. And then secondly, I just wanted to ask, I don't know if anybody's here from SDFA, but yes? I just wanted to, oh, hi. And sorry, Mr. Hunter, I'm not asking you these questions because we've already talked about it, but I'm quite concerned. The Seniors Corporation was stood up in order to have more services for seniors, more activities for seniors, and I understand, we had COVID, it's hard. But how do we have a situation where one of the delivery agents is an AOC, critical delivery agent, long-standing delivery agent, they've cut their programming to a seniors building, and nobody has told anybody about that. So another city service getting cut in the seniors building with no accountability. I'm quite concerned about the lack of coordination. Can you describe how Eastview would have cut that program and how they didn't tell anybody at the city when we're talking about how we're supporting seniors? And this isn't increasing support, this was decreasing.
It's your last question, and if we need another round, then we can go to that. Go ahead.
So, to the chair, Councillor, as you are aware, the Eastview Board of Management would have been aware of their decision to cut the program. However, through this process, what's become very clear is that social development has a role to play to support the 7 AOC centers that have seniors buildings within their catchment to do better in terms of coordinating with those buildings to meet seniors, local seniors' needs, and to support the EDs of the AOCs to be clear about the process of changing programming that would impact seniors within their catchment.
Okay, any other questions of staff from another councillor? Councillor Fletcher has requested a second round. Can we have agreement from the committee? Go ahead, Councillor Fletcher.
It's not the role of every city division to support the Toronto Seniors Corporation with the integrated service model? Is that not why it was set up? So not just external agencies, but also we could internally support. I don't know who wants to answer that.
Chair, I'll say that this city is committed to work in an integrated manner to support this strategy moving ahead.
But I've got two examples how that didn't happen. Takeover of the meeting, Eastview out. I'm sure there's others. And I'm quite concerned about it. Does not appear to be a thoughtful strategy, bringing all the resources to bear or knowing what's happening with other city divisions that are engaged with or near seniors. Do you think that that could be corrected?
Chair, I would agree that there's better coordination that could occur in these situations where these examples could be articulated across city divisions to ensure that our focus remains on the senior strategy and the intersectionality of issues.
Then I'll just ask Mr. Dayton, how many programs does PFNR, one of the things that we were setting up was so you could deliver programs directly. How many programs do you deliver in the 83 buildings? How many buildings does somebody go to, or if at all?
Chair, we don't currently deploy
I can't hear you.
Apologies. Chair, we don't currently deploy recreation staff to Toronto Senior Housing Corporation buildings to deliver programming directly on site. Through this review, there's been a commitment to undertake a pilot project where we would be looking to deliver fitness programming in 3 Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation buildings, and then evaluating that pilot and determining whether or not that can be expanded. I should note that is not been something that the division has been resourced to do, so rather it's been about outreaching to Toronto Seniors Housing communities about attending programming and delivering programming in the facilities that we do program and operate.
You're aware that that was a council direction to deliver PFNR, to deliver recreational programming in the seniors housing? Yes?
Chair, I'm not aware of that direction, but I can say that we don't currently have a funding strategy or stream to undertake that.
That's different than being aware. That's different than having a mandate. I'm assuming that there is that mandate. Mr. Azouz, is there not? All city services, public health, PFNR, everybody in integrated service model.
Chair, there is a focus, a purposeful focus to integrate a variety of different services.
There was a direction to do that.
A new and enhanced direction.
There was a direction to integrate those things.
Chair, I would agree that
New and enhanced with the funding, so I'm just not sure.
New and enhanced doesn't guarantee funding.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just saying.
But there was a direction. So if you're unable to meet that direction, then that's a different matter here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That seems to be the end of questions of staff speakers. Councillor Fletcher, and I'll add myself to the list.
Yes, thank you. I know there's a direction because I made that motion. City Council did direct. Bring in some of those programs to the seniors. We run programs. We have a lot of programs. We have a seniors corporation. We have an integrated service model. Why are we looking here and saying, what can we bring in? My experience is that one of the programs was cut. The most popular program at 80 Danforth got cut by a city-funded agency. And had I not had a T there, it'd still be cut. So I'm concerned about the tracking. I'm concerned about how that's happening. And my concern is that that's one of the roles of the city, because we set up a very separate corporation to do that. And I know that Mr. Hunter and his staff are working very hard, that there's lots of great things happening, but it's that taking advantage of the fact that we wanted to deliver programs here, and we should be able to put some of our programs there. This sounds to me a little bit like the youth outreach workers, where they were told they could only deliver youth outreach worker programs in the community centers. not in the community. So that was obviously very strange to me as well. So I'm not very happy with all the answers and the fact that some of these things have been curtailed. I think that the other thing that I'm concerned about is STAC, that it's becoming, the notion of it becoming a policy-driven, policy carver model. That was not its intention. And I am concerned about safety. I am concerned about the drug dealers living in the seniors buildings. I had one at 145 Strathmore on the first floor, used to be dealing drugs out the window of the building. Took me forever to get that sorted out. Seniors are always worried about safety, so making sure that they're in safe buildings was one of the reasons why we stood up the Seniors Corporation. As far as what we heard from the tenant and then what we heard from Mr. Davis, I think that's something that needs to be investigated by you, DCM, and by our incoming DCM, because it's unacceptable to me that we're having a meeting to talk to the seniors about what's going to happen, and it's been a building takeover, a meeting takeover by all these people coming from the community. What are the standards for those meetings? Who can come in the building? Can anybody just come in the building? I don't think so. And that to me is a very dangerous situation. That's the second time that's happened. I was at Cummer when that happened. I'm glad I wasn't here at Woods Manor when that happened. How can that happen? It's not as if it's somebody else's organization, it's all city-led. Where is the coordination? And I would have to say, it's very disappointing to hear that story. Very disappointing to hear that story, and to hear Mr. Hunter say, I didn't know anything about that, and to have the DCM say, I didn't know anything about that. How are we sitting in that situation where people don't know this, in this burning issue, that happened? Who's managing this? Who's managing this on the city side? I'm quite concerned about it. And I'm very concerned about this Woods Manor now feeling that their lives are at stake, that their lives are in danger by having a shelter next door. And that it's left up to one little consultant to try to push that genie back in the bottle, when we have all of the city and all of the agencies and all of our resources, shelter, seniors housing, everything else, and there's been no response. So I'm quite concerned. I'm just letting you know, Madam Chair, and I'd like you to have a follow-up about that to determine what happened and why.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. Anyone else to speak? I will speak to say thank you, Councillor Fletcher, for your ongoing concern for Toronto seniors and Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation fulfilling the promise that was made to when it was created, and clearly there is work to be done. I do want to address the issue raised by the deputant in relation to the takeover and trespass, essentially, of community members into what is a seniors building for a casual conversation that would have allowed residents to be informed and to ask questions in a safe way about the planned shelter. I have similar concerns around the need to provide safety so that these conversations can occur all over the city in a way that does not invite conflict in situations where people feel unsafe. I just want to share with you, Councillor Fletcher, and members of the committee, that I have written a memo that has been shared with the Deputy City Manager's Office and the General Manager of Shelter, indicating the need for a safety plan. That as we can roll out community engagement, because they're not consultations, the capital plan is approved, the sites have purchased or leased or have been assigned as city-owned lands. Now the question is ensuring that people's voices can be safely heard. That includes residents, such as the residents of the Seniors Housing Corporation. It also includes anyone who's engaged in this process. So I appreciate you raising that, and clearly there's a huge need for this across the entire city and its agencies and corporations. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Moise.
I know that, again, I have a lot of senior residences in my ward, especially in Regent Park, and I can say to you that TCHC works really hard to support their seniors in those buildings. And a lot of great work takes place every single day. So I don't want us to walk away thinking that it's all bad and staff isn't putting their best foot forward here each and every day. So I see it firsthand. I engage seniors. I work with TCHC, and I'm thankful for the work they do each and every day. So it's not a perfect system, but we cannot expect perfection all the time. And where there is gaps, we can work to figure it out and make changes where necessary. And to Councillor Carroll's point, things take money, right? We make a lot of promises in this building, but we don't fund it. And we know how difficult that is each and every day. And so we have to be mindful of that as well. So thank you.
Thank you for those words. On the item, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We're going to go on to EC 19.3, access to outdoor ovens in Toronto parks. And we have a speaker, Yuda Mason. Good morning. Welcome to the committee. You have 5 minutes, and I'll start your time when you're settled.
Thank you. Okay. I have written a letter, which I would imagine is in everybody's possession, so I'll more or less go through that letter. Good morning. Okay, so I am the volunteer project manager fundraiser for the first 3 bake ovens in Toronto, built in 1995 and then 2 of them in 2000. And that was fun. And the third one, actually in 2018, was transported by flatbed truck, very heavy thing, right across town to Fairmount Park. So they have that one now. And also with city rec staff on their own time in 2010 started a website called Public Bake Ovens, which I helped with, and it's still running. So I think that it's really good that this item was then brought up because 14 years ago, there was a policy put in place, and in that 14 years, the use of bake ovens went down and down and down because it wasn't a very workable policy. So now people have talked to Malika Hill, who was the person who called people. I had hoped that there would be one time when the staff of, wait a second, policy development for Parks and Rec, isn't it, that they could actually come physically to a place, and there was no time. I feel like that is a problem because we need to have people see each other, and also if you're going to do a report on bake ovens, it's good to actually go to some, which is tricky for anybody to add, but I think that's one of the problems here, that there needs to be, and there's some proposal for some more stuff to be done. But I'm not sure that all of it is covered, and some of it maybe shouldn't be happening yet. I don't think this policy work is finished, and I'm really hoping that you won't say, okay, done, we've got a policy. I think that having it go to 0, the permit fees, is great. And I guess that aligns with what Mayor Chow wants to do generally about community events. But of course, for anybody who's using an oven, if they have to do all the stuff and get everything together and plus pay at least $33.48 for insurance. That doesn't work. So, and I think that it would be really good if your finance people could go through and figure out, in fact, we've been going for a long time, right? 1995, it's 30 years. How many claims do tend to come out of this, and why it was approved in the first place, which is it's an enclosed fire, and there are a lot of safety things happening here. So if the risks of reducing all community events are greater than the risk of maybe having a claim because somebody burned their finger, and that's not good. I don't like burning my fingers. So the oven training, I don't think that the proposal of having an upgraded video is enough. I think each one teach one is a big thing. I also sent a quick and not very dirty, a quick thing we did on Google Smoky, on a Google slideshow. I sent it to each of you. I'm sure you're very busy, but it's really sweet about, you know, how things go and bake ovens and some of the things that are good that shouldn't be lost, because bake ovens seem to be people magnets if things are working okay. So, and then I have, the programs. We had some real trouble with city staff who were trying to do bake oven stuff with summer camps, and actually they did damage to one of our ovens. The other oven is still out. There needs to be discussion of what's going on here. That you can't have teenagers just running it with no supervision. It doesn't work. I think that the idea of having another level, which is putting park people in here to introduce everybody and get them to work together. We already know each other. I think what has to happen is that the city, don't put another layer in. What needs to happen is that city policy people get more acquainted with what the actual situation is that they're trying to write policy for. So I'm really hoping that for the next year, oh, I'm so close to the limit. For the next year, we say, okay, let's do whatever you guys feel like you ought to do, and then come back and the whole year we talk about what works, what doesn't work with whoever is the link. 501. Whoop.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did you have, as a question, I'll ask you first, did you have anything else that you wanted to add but ran out of time?
Sorry?
As a question, do you have anything else that you would like to add but ran out of time?
Well, I mean, I feel like this, I'm hoping that you folks will say this policy, it got a good start. The conversations were way better than in 2011, which were a disaster. But so if you can just go from there and say, okay, for the next year, we're going to have this thing where we really get to talk more, and policy people, Malika, whoever, will come and hang out, and we look at the nitty gritty.
So the sense of your recommendation to us is that the conversation continue, and that there would be more conversations with the people who are involved, who have, like yourself, spurred this whole movement, and users within the park, community members. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Sounds right.
And are you also asking that this is a way to monitor whether this policy is working? Are you saying that that would be the way to monitor whether this policy is working?
It would be one way. People have to talk, and we need access. And it's a very common experience of citizens all over the city that they hear who they should get in touch with, they try, and there's silence, and there's silence, and there's silence.
And finally, that your greatest concern, what you outlined at the beginning, was that it hadn't been reviewed in 14 years, but you would like to see more frequent touch points, and so monitoring community voice and engagement in the policy monitoring process, and a more reduced timeline for looking at this that's the substance of what you're communicating to us. Is that correct?
But let's go, how about a year? A year's kind of sweet, isn't it? For us to talk to each other for a year in a friendly way, and plus you can get some really good food out of it, so that would work.
Thank you. Those are my questions, but I just want to thank you for your leadership on this. And I know that this movement started out of Dufferin Grove Park with you, and it's really great to be here to hear you and your recommendations with respect to how we move forward. Any other questions of the deputant? Thank you. Now we will go, oh, there's a second deputant. Oh, Sabina. Yeah. Sabina Lee, welcome to committee. Oh, Sabina's not logged in yet. Maybe we can give just a couple of minutes. So she did submit a letter. It's posted with some recommendations, if you want to take a look at that, members. No? I'm going to ask for the indulgence of the committee to move to questions of staff, and then as Sabina Ali is logging in, we could return and hear her voice. Is that okay? Okay, so Councillor Moyes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have 13 ovens in the city, 2 of which are in my ward. One is in Riverdale Park, and the other is in Regent Park. But they have not been well utilized over the years. It shows here that in 2023, the Riverdale Farm oven was used on 12 occasions, and in 2024, on 15 occasions. And I do recognize that during the summer months, there's some summer programming for kids ages 4 to 12. So what strategies can we use? And I know that the Riverdale Farm is the staff who are actually the ones who do this because for safety reasons. But more specifically in regards to Regent Park, in 2024 it was used 13 separate times by 8 different groups. How can we get more use out of these ovens across the city?
Chair, just to level set, we have 11 bake ovens across the city. And yes, to your point, the intention of the review was to identify what are the barriers that our user groups are having in increasing their access to the ovens, and then addressing those barriers through the policy changes that we are recommending today. We feel that by removing fees, by streamlining the permit process, by eliminating license agreement requirements for extended usership, and by working, as the deputant indicated, more closely and collaboratively with community on an ongoing basis, that the bake ovens will see increased uses, not just through direct programming, which is certainly a component of how the ovens are used, but also through community-led initiatives and activations that happen in the park. And that is certainly the intention of the policy changes that we are making, and then we will promote those changes through our community networks across the city and with councillors where the ovens exist.
Which is great. I think I can't speak for other wards, but for example, in Regent Park, they're surrounded by 3 elementary schools. Is there an opportunity for partnerships with our local schools, public and separate schools?
Chair, absolutely. There's partnerships, and certainly in Regent Park, we're working on a larger management agreement to help activate that park inclusive of the oven. But absolutely, we do work collaboratively with the schools, and we'll certainly make the ovens part of the programming opportunities when they're doing park play days and that sort of thing.
Thank you. That's my questions.
Thank you. I believe that we have our deputant now. Sabina Lee, are you with us now?
You hear me?
Hi, Sabina. Welcome to the committee. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Hi, good morning. I'll be talking regarding the Tandoor Bake Oven in RV Burgess Park, which is considered as the only one outdoor oven in all the North American parks. And the Tandoor oven was brought in RV Burgess in 2013, and there was a lease agreement in place between the committee and the City of Toronto around the usage and all. And since 2015, I have been reaching out to renew the lease agreement, and I have been following up with the different staff. And recently, 2 weeks before, Malaika Hill, the policy development officer, reached out to me to hear about my experiences accessing our Tandoor oven. Since RV Burgess got redesigned, we had been facing many challenges using the oven. It went through the permit process with the City of Toronto Parks and Rec, along with our seasonal market each year. And the city staff comes in every Friday, and whenever we use the oven, like we added 2 days, 2 more days, like Monday and Tuesday, to offer this food demo programs. The city staff comes in the afternoon, opens the padlock, and provides us the access, and then they come back again in the evening or the night to lock the oven again. And few times it happened that the city staff didn't turn, to open the oven. So all the materials for baking used to go to waste. So those were the challenges, and I had been talking to a couple of people around to, talking about the concerns we have. And many times in summer, it happened that the city staff didn't come back to lock the oven, and we ended up staying in the park until 11:30 p.m. So my question was what was happening with the lease agreement and all. And last week I came to know that our oven has been open to public. I would like to mention that Tandoor oven is a very unique oven, and it requires special skills to operate. If this is open to public, I really want to understand how this is going to be managed. As a Women's Committee's founding member, I would, and I saw in that list as well, there is a region park mentioned where the nonprofits, the permit goes through the nonprofits as like a management agreement. So I would like to recommend having a management agreement for the Women's Committee, and have the parties interested in having the permit for occasional use of a Tandoor oven in the parks, obtaining permit through Women's Committee and providing all the requirements, how the city requires, following all those requirements to use the Tandoor oven, like having the additional, the insurance, and also hiring Women's Committee staff at the permits holder cost to run the Tandoor oven, because I think it's little challenging for the common people to operate that, and also covering, if they are not able to, then they have to cover the cost for the Women's Committee staff. So because somebody has to be there to supervise the oven. And we had been maintaining this oven for past 12 years now, taking the responsibility of managing it, repairing, doing the small repairs, curing the oven and all. So this is my recommendation to the City Council to look at if it is not a lease agreement, look at the management agreement for operating this oven. Thank you.
Thank you. Please stay on the line. We do have a questions for you. First, we have the Vice Chair, Carol. Go ahead.
Yes. Hello, Sabina. Thank you for calling in. Long time no see.
Thank you.
Tell me about, in looking at the Region Park model and wanting a management agreement, did we help facilitate your being able to talk to that group? Have you been able to compare notes with them?
Not really, no. I have visited like a couple of times talking to the staff there, but not really, no.
Okay. But as far as you know, having visited, in recommending that we look at a manager agreement similar to the Region Park agreement, you generally know how that's working. That's why you're suggesting that as a solution?
Yeah, because I came to know like these are the requirements. It goes through the nonprofit organization and all, and they should be like, having their staff providing the supervision.
Right, right. And so you're not asking for exclusive use. Your management agreement, in your letter, you include, and other groups could use it, and this is what we would recommend be the rules for them, including having, some supervision from our group could be part of making sure that if another group comes along to use the oven, they would have someone there who's knowledgeable. Ovens have sort of personalities, don't they? So you'd have someone there who knows the oven and can make sure that they get the best use out of it as well. That would be part of the agreement for you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Then I only have one other question. Because you have been, active users of the oven in yours, and I'm going to ask staff about this across the whole map. You're suggesting other users would also have to have an insurance policy. Thorncliffe Women's Group has an insurance policy to cover their use. How easy is it to obtain that insurance policy? Or are we facilitating that in such a way that, an emerging group is still going to find it a reasonable exercise to get their insurance coverage?
We are purchasing the insurance exclusively covering the markets and the tandoor oven. So if we just have to look at the kind of the group, right? If it is a resident-led, if they do not have any status like nonprofit, so we can, I'm not sure about that. I still have to talk to my board, like how that liability insurance, if it is costing the group who is using a lot, how we can make it more viable for them.
Okay, I'm going to follow up with staff on that request, and I understand that the chair has a motion about some of your recommendations. Thank you. Thanks for answering my questions.
No problem.
And the chair has just stepped out. I think she's working on that motion. Are there any other questions for the deputant? Seeing none, thank you, Sabina. Sorry. Sabina, are you still on the line?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Councillor Candevel would like to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Sabina, for coming out to Depute and share your experience. Just one question about the insurance. I know on our city website, it indicates that if applicants don't have insurance, they are able to purchase it through Parks and Rec. Through your experience, what did most people do? Obtain it themselves or get it through PFR? And how was that process?
It is for use of tandoor oven. It's only Women's Committee who had been, accessing the tandoor oven, and and we have got the insurance from the other third-party company, not through the PFNR.
Okay, and was it expensive? Was it reasonable? Was the process seamless?
Yeah, because the insurance is not just for the Tandoor. We purchase the insurance for the markets as well, and this is a blanket permit because our market runs from May until October, and the Tandoor also runs from May until October. But I happened to purchase the insurance for one-time use in February for our winter carnival, and it was about $138 plus tax.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Sabrina. That's very helpful. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other questions of the deputant? We're going now to questions of staff. Vice Chair Carroll.
Sorry about that. I was just ordering a coffee. Yeah, I asked the question of our deputant about insurance because I understand it to be a bit of a hurdle for brand new groups, especially an established group like Thorncliffe Park Women's Committee and Regent Park, probably Una Mason's group. She's the veteran of the whole program. They've gotten used to it. Are we sure that we have a sort of seamless and easy way? If an emerging group wants to use a facility like this, they certainly can't do so without the insurance. Are we making it easy for them?
Chair, so the insurance process for a permit is, we believe, a pretty straightforward process. If groups or individuals don't have their own, we can provide it through our client and business services group. Okay. I think the costs are noted in the report. Those are, as affordable as we're able to make it. Yeah. We certainly have Mina here from Insurance and Risk Management, should there be more specific technical questions. But those, based on the nature of the activity, these are the rates that would apply to provide the necessary coverage to protect both the city and the user group.
Right, and so in this change to how you get the permit, that would basically be the principal cost. You just need to be an organized group. Other than that, correct. So tell me this. So we're making a policy change. We knew we'd hear from all the fans of the ovens would be coming by. Ms. Mason said something at the very beginning of her deputations that this report has been written without anyone actually visiting an outdoor oven. That's not true, is it? Please tell me that's not true.
Chair, I can assure you that that is not the case.
Okay, so there has been some facility outlook before proceeding to write a report. Thank you. That gives me great comfort. So then my only other question is about the idea of having a management agreement. Is the Regent Park one from a Parks and Rec standpoint, is that manageable? Is it going well? Because if it is, I'm wondering if at the end of the day, that is really the secret to making sure that these get regular usage is having sort of a host group. If you're going to put it in an oven, is there somebody who's going to be really invested in it? They're going to provide access to other groups, but there's an overarching. It's similar to, when we open an off-leash dog park, the ones that are most successful are the ones where there's a sort of doggy club board of governance that's overseeing that facility and agreeing as a neighborhood. So is a management agreement a way to get there so that the ovens increase their usage?
Chair, it's interesting that part of our policy change is to recommend removing the license agreement component strictly for the oven piece. Yeah. Nobody was using it. In the case of Thorncliffe Women, what they do is wonderful activations in terms of curating the park beyond the oven. Yeah. And that's really the intention of what this agreement would cover, is what the scope of their contributions are to the community, to the park, what supports they need from us, who does what would would be captured.
Right.
You know, I think what we need to find is the most effective vehicle by which to capture that work, both in Regent Park, we're continuing to do that negotiation with that host community organization, and here, and I'd like to find ways to do it in a more efficient manner so we can come forward to council with clear recommendations. This group, this park, they've got the capacity. Here's what they're going to do. Here's how they're going to do it. And making sure community access is a guiding principle and embed it in whatever those agreements are. So we're committed to working here to achieve that outcome with this group.
Okay, excellent. I just have one more question, Madam Chair, if you can indulge me. And that is Edithvale, the North York Park. What I noticed there is that it is sort of unique in that most of the usage is happening through an actual parks program. It's staff-led sorts of things. Is that onerous? Could we be doing that in more places, or is it's just a matter of the oven use has been folded into some other program we'd be funding? Pardon me, anyway.
Yeah, Chair, I think I understand the question.
Yeah.
Edithvale's Bake Oven evolved, you know, from its inception to being a program delivery model. So I know that the staff at the community center do a ton of direct programming, either in the summer camps or community events. And that's not to say that we can't look to leverage.
And the camp would be happening anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't preclude other permit groups from using that oven, and that's what we want to build into it. Whereas in other ovens, they're very much used by the community, and there isn't a lot of programming opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? I just have a couple relating to the learning process. What are the recommendations that specifically speak to how communities, these communities can learn from each other and improve practice and provide feedback in real time to the public service about how to make sure that we're maximizing our investment in this opportunity?
Chair, what we're recommending through this report is we identified them as oven champions, and we've learned so much through them through this consultation program, and the deputant spoke to it as well. Our intention is to continue that dialogue to make sure that these changes are proving effective and identify other opportunities within the confines of the policy that we think can work to increase community use, community access. If there are other barriers that we need to address, then there can be, you know, future amendments recommended to council in the policy. We don't want this to be a static policy. We want this to be a living document that helps ensure that these assets are optimized.
In one of the, from the first deputant, Yuda Mason, there is a concern expressed that the recommendation is for park people to create the Bake Ovens Champions Reference Group, and the recommendation in her communication indicates that it would be better for the parks champions themselves to be in touch with the staff who have done the work. And on this, I will just say, I think there might have been a misunderstanding. I think when in her remarks, she was complimentary of the work that had been done by Ms. Hill, but would want to see the staff engaged with the park communities and champions to visit park ovens. I think that was the message.
Yeah, Chair, I agree. I think our intention is not to insert park people rather than a direct relationship with city staff. We will remain engaged. Park people has proven effective in community activations, and we were exploring ways that we might be able to leverage the work that they do, the knowledge that they have to sort of help us move this forward, but not at the exclusion of our participation.
And that relationship with, or that mobilization of the activations that park people carries out in different parts of the city, that would be not just for the oven use, but also on a broader level, is that correct?
Correct, and that is our relationship with park people, primarily currently in the ravine work that they do, but we are looking at ways that they can sort of expand their footprint into the park system, you know, the arts and parks, friends of groups, those sorts of things that we can work with them on. They're looking at a park summit in Toronto. So they really are knowledge sharers and connectors of community organizations to help animate these spaces.
And my final question has to do with how you respond to the concerns and the recommendations raised by Sabine Ali about the Tandoor Oven and the Thorncliffe Park community.
Chair, our commitment, and I've just chatted with my parks folks, is to have an offline conversation with them just to make sure that if there are any operational concerns, we're aware of them and addressing them with urgency.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Chair Bravo.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Candeville, I did not see you. Please go ahead.
That's fine. I think the screen is behind your head. Through you, Chair, to staff, thank you for the report. Just wanted to confirm, there are 11 sites. Are there any in Scarborough?
Chair, there's 10 sites, 11 ovens, 2 in one location, and I don't believe there's currently a location in Scarborough.
And on the city website, the list of the locations are not made public unless I missed it. Can that be added?
Chair, absolutely. We will check the website and ensure that it's clear where the ovens are located.
Thank you. I think getting a sense of access is important to the public. I only ended up finding the list on a website called publicbakeovens.ca. So I think it's important that we share it. But going into council, I'd like, is staff open to, you know, given that this report is about access, is staff open to implementing and executing at least 1-2 sites of public, outdoor ovens in Scarborough? I'd happy to support that in my ward at least.
Yeah, Chair, absolutely. I think you're right. This is about access, and we need to look to see, you know, I think they've evolved very much through community-led initiatives, you know, but we can certainly look to see where there are, you know, community capacity, interest, and appropriate locations, and work with your office if you have some in mind. Absolutely.
Great. And just as a final follow-up, is community support required, or are there varying levels with the 10 other sites in terms of community involvement?
Chair, I think as they initiated, it was very much through community participation and request. But I have seen some being implemented in parks as part of a park development project. So I think we work with the local councillor. Ideally, there is some community interest because, you know, activating the oven is very much about community involvement. That's what we're trying to achieve through this.
Exactly, and I just wanted to kind of parse that through, but completely agree. Thank you, Chair.
Are there any other questions of staff? Councillor Fletcher, questions of staff.
I just want to stress that point again, because Councillor Candeville, in asking if have there been any applications from Scarborough which were denied for an oven?
Chair, we'd have to research that. I don't have that on hand to know whether it's based on an application process or through an organic park design and development process, is my understanding.
So where are the parks where you have design, where you're designing that in? Through a public consultation you're designing that in, and people want that? In other words, you've had a big consultation. How many are there for that of the 11?
That were generated through community?
Through a new park design.
We'd have to go back through each one of those design
well, you have 11.
Some of them are quite, you know, historic in nature. So
I think most of them come from like Miss Mason,
Through the
getting
community.
people together in the community, it's like the Thorncliffe, deciding you would like to get an oven, and then going through a very vigorous process to get that, because of course, we want it to be used.
Correct.
So I just want to be clear, there's no discrimination about any part of the city because there's no oven there. There's been no community group come forward from any of the Scarborough wards that are you aware of? Would you like to let me know?
Correct. Thanks for the clarification. No, there have not been, I am not aware of any Scarborough groups coming forward and saying, we really want an oven, and us denying
Thank you.
that.
How about Etobicoke? They come
Same
forward
thing.
to ask for an oven?
To date, we have not had community activations around requesting ovens through park design projects.
And pardon, Etobicoke projects, is that what you said?
Correct.
Couldn't hear you.
In Etobicoke park projects as well.
So it's not that you don't want to put one there, there's been nobody come forward. And how about North York? You have Thorncliffe, you've had a number of places there, but most of them might end up, so where are the most of the ovens then?
Most of the ovens are in the old city of Toronto.
Is that because you only like to build things in the old city of Toronto?
No, that is not why.
Is that because those are the groups that have come forward?
Correct.
So in this, do you have an outreach possibility for people that are interested where they have a portal for community groups? But if I was one person and wanted an oven, would that be good enough for you, or do you want to have a community that's coming forward, or a neighborhood association, or someone of that nature that's coming in?
Yeah, Chair, through my answer to the councillor, this should continue to be based on community capacity to help, activate the oven, express interest in having an oven. These are very specialized amenities that aren't typical and standard in the park. And as the report showed, this city has the most ovens in any jurisdictions we've researched, and because they've come from community mobilization.
The same as rinks, outdoor rinks that might come from community mobilization and deciding to put in an outdoor rink in the winter, a community-based rink. It's coming from the community, and then you're assisting in whatever way to do that. But you need water, you need people to hose it, you need your ice masters and all the rest of that in order to be successful.
Yeah, the Neighborhood Ice Rink program is a great example of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of staff, Councillor Moyse.
Thank you. And just to clarify again, this is really community initiated, not staff initiated. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
And again, I just want to focus on the Region Park. Based on what I know of the funding of that oven, that was part of the revitalization, and that was part of Section 37 at the time. It wasn't coming out of Park's budget. It was really through the council. Is that?
Chair, that is correct. That was the funding source.
So if a council wants to have an oven in their ward, then, they should need to use the CBC for that, right? Community benefits charges, right?
Is that a question?
Yeah, I mean, again, like,
these
if you want things in your ward, you have to pay for it. It doesn't come out of Park's budget.
These ovens are considered well above a base park provision. That's correct. And
yeah, okay,
would require
great.
local funding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? I'm going to ask that we hold this down because I'm receiving, we're in conversation with committee members around motions. So if that is okay with the committee, I'd like to proceed to the next item, and we'll come back to this when we're ready for speakers. The next item is dangerous dogs, EC 19.5, addressing dangerous dogs, response to 2024 EC 16.3, and we have a speaker for that. And I would like to ask David Blythe. Go ahead, please. You have 5 minutes.
Can you hear me there? Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. The reason I'm here are my concerns that the expenses the city is making to address dangerous dogs are not financially prudent because they're not effective. This process started in earnest after the July 30th, 2023 attack on Cara in East York. I will quote the city's response and commitment since this attack. Quote, "The city is committed to continuous improvement of dangerous dog investigation processes, prevention of dangerous acts, and enforcement of dangerous dog orders," unquote. That's the city's response. Since that date, the following actions have commenced. There's a dangerous dog registry that's available on open data, and that tells the public nothing as to where a dog is located. There's a dangerous dog map also available. That tells me nothing as to where the dog is located. I urge you, I don't know if hopefully you've all looked at this map. If you haven't, for me, I live in the Toronto Danforth area, and if I click, there's a single dot that tells me there's 29 dogs. That's over an area of 5,400 acres or 22 square kilometers. 29 dogs. I have no idea where the dogs are. Microchipping the dog doesn't ensure my safety. The one hope that I had from the actions was the new dangerous dog sign. But at the very site where this attack occurred, and that was at 470 Mortimer. The address, by the way, was not obtained from the city, but is publicly available on the news reports on the attack, the videos of the attack, all available on YouTube. The sign is invisible. The city was informed of this in October of 2024, and nothing has changed. The sign at the site of the very attack that started this is invisible. Now you're talking about taking 4 mugshots, front, back, left side, right side, and developing a bite severity scale to quantify the severity of the bite. You're going to put a sign on the residential's door in an apartment or a condo if there's a dangerous dog. Put the sign in the lobby, or better still, on the front door. If you're trying to warn people, how does a sign on the door of an apartment on the 4th floor warn me if I live on the 5th floor and blindly share the same lobby, the same elevator, the same stairs as the dangerous dog that's a floor below me, of which I'm completely unaware? You need to tell people the location of dangerous dogs. Why is the privacy of a dog that is it's already deemed dangerous, it's already attacked and caused pain and suffering to another person or a child or someone's pet, why is their privacy more important than our right, and I'm including everybody in this room, our right to be safe? If you're serious in your goal to prevent dangerous dog attacks, then do one thing. Tell us where they are. Thank you. Questions?
Any questions of the deputant?
I'll just let you know, David, I'll ask the staff that question when I have a chance.
Thank you.
Okay.
The next deputant is Nicole Corrado, online. Hello, Nicole. Welcome to committee. You have 5 minutes.
Hi. I would like to say that the problem with allowing the location of the dangerous dog is that somebody might retaliate against the dog, often in a really inhumane or cruel way. Someone might try to poison the dog, shoot the dog, etc. That's why the exact location of the dog is not put on the map. However, I do agree that the sign should have to be somewhere visible. It should be put outside where the dog is going to be. Because the dog's going to have to go outside to use the bathroom. So yeah, in the common areas, there should be a sign that says, there is a dangerous dog, on this presence. I also would suggest that maybe the signs have some tips on dog coexistence, that the city's been working with on coyote coexistence. I would suggest a canid coexistence education program for everybody, that and to be proactive, that just be a regular education, things on canid behavior and canid coexistence and how to be around dogs, that would just be a good thing. What I would suggest is that it's very expensive for someone to have to go through the tribunal. I would suggest that the tribunal, for one thing, be free, the Dangerous Dog Review Tribunal. I would also suggest that after a year of no further incident, if the dog has shown progress, then the dangerous dog status be revoked. Because dogs in many ways are like young offenders. They you know, they're impulsive, but they can change because they're reflecting human behavior, and it's human animal conflict. There's always a human component that needs to be kept into mind. The other thing I was going to say is that Toronto Animal Services needs to be 24/7. Right now, Toronto Animal Services is not available during the night. And so because Toronto Animal Services is not available during the night, there's between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., nothing is being enforced. And police are enforcing things, and they're not humane. The other thing can you actually hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You have 2.5 more minutes left.
Sure. Yeah, so I think that Animal Services needs to be reinstated as a 24/7 service. I would also suggest that the City of Toronto provide free or low-cost training for animals, and for anybody, not just dangerous dogs, but for anybody. And it could be just a low-cost thing that could, you know, it's pay what you can, and it could be a pay what you can service that the money then would go directly into animal services. The other thing I would suggest is that the city was lead by not enforcing the pit bull ban, because the majority, I looked at the list of the public database. One thing I love about the public database is it shows the breeds, and the majority of the breeds are not even remotely like pit bulls. The majority of them, they're all dogs, all types of dogs. Any breed or mix thereof can be dangerous, because it's the behavior of the dog and its human that causes the dangerous act. So I would suggest that Ottawa has stopped enforcing the breed-specific portions of DOLA. I would suggest that Toronto do the same. That Toronto just say not, because I noticed there were 2 cases where the dangerous dog status is just listed as dog was a pit bull, but that doesn't automatically make a dog dangerous. There's absolutely no evidence that breed banning works, and it's actually counterproductive. So I'd suggest Toronto just not use the breed-specific portions. I would suggest that changing Dangerous Dog Review Tribunal to a canid coexistence plan, that, you know, along with coyotes. And also, I think there should also be a category for a dangerous or nuisance dog for dogs attacking wildlife, because the issue.
Nicole, I'm going to need you to wrap up. Nicole, you're at the 5 minutes.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, are there any questions for the deputant? Seeing none, that means we're going into questions of staff. Councillor Fletcher, I believe you had questions of staff.
Yes, they do. Thank you. Do we have any idea how many dangerous dogs there are in single-family homes versus apartment buildings versus condos. Is there any notion of that?
That is a body of work that we need to do. As the deputants were speaking, I was thinking the same question, and I knew where you were going to go. I too want to know how many are in multi-residential versus single. There are differences, but I do want to point out that the sign, we do have, in the current way the bylaw is written, we do have authority to put signs where we deem are appropriate. There's been a lot of focus on the front door of the condo unit, and we've addressed that here, but we also have the authority, if we choose, to put a sign in the lobby, to put one in the underground parking garage, to put one where we think would be highly visible. We do have that authority as it exists right now.
So in cases, and well, I'm just going to talk about extremely severe, and Mr. Blythe mentioned a address where I think those dogs could be considered that they were very severe bites at the time. If you have a, you know where the most severe are. It's not a dog nipping a dog or that kind of dog. It's a very severe attack. Is it possible for you to think about a category of that kind where there are those dogs, more than one sometimes in one place, that you would post those signs, or do we need to give further instructions about that?
I don't think we need the instructions. I think I've heard loud and clear from the deputants and from our discussions on this that we have the ability to do this in where the very severe, and we will put that into our operational plan. The sign is one of many items that we look at. We also visit these locations and speak with the person. We do that yearly. The map is, I think you have a motion coming to allow for the 6 digits for the highly severe, and we support that, and we will implement that if approved by council.
And would you say, since you've taken these really strong actions, that there's a different vibe out there? People are being a little more careful, that we haven't had an escalation. There's approximately 350 dangerous dog orders in the city, correct? Is that rising, lowering, stabilized?
I would say it's trending down. The number is 335 that we have in our city right now. It is something that we've put a lot of work into over the course of 2024, and we're going to continue to. Public education, advertising, and being out in the field are all critical aspects for this to be successful.
And for those, if you have a home on a street, then that sign's very visible. Everybody's going to know that that is a dangerous dog. And one of the most important things is the QR code that lets everybody know exactly what the requirements are for that owner. I think for cases that are dangerous, and I'm happy to hear you say that severely, that you're able to identify that on the door, but in this case, somebody living on the ground floor, somebody on the top floor might have no idea. So you'll be able to go back and see how many dogs there are, single-family homes, or how many dogs, dangerous dogs in apartments, how many dangerous dogs in condos, and then look at where the most severe ones are and basically increase the public visibility of those very special ones. How many would you estimate that you put in the very severe category?
I think it's less than 20.
Yeah. Less than 20 that have, and that in order to get into that category, what do you have to have done as a dog?
You would have to have, like, the dog attacked was killed, or a very severe injury to a person.
To a person. Okay, thank you. And getting the motion, or going into the condos, I have a second motion that would have you go in directly, send letters to the condo board so nobody's arguing, oh no, you can't do that, that everybody has the right to be safe in their building, and decide if you're going with that dog in the elevator or not, or you understand what the requirements are. I think you'd agree that following up very strongly is an important thing to do, correct?
Absolutely. The more information we can provide to residents of multi-tenant housing, the better.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? No. Speakers? Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you. I do have two motions, and I want to thank everybody for their interest in this. And I really want to just thank MLS, Mr. Grant and all of his staff, and our chief veterinarian for the incredible work that they've done. We're not even up to 2 years, and it's been quite something, as they say, trending down, but everybody knows that there will be consequences for if your dog is a dangerous dog and is acting out in that way. We've always said your dog probably would be all right. It's the owners that really need to take charge. You do have to be in control of your dog at all times. That is the law. And if your dog is engaged in dangerous activity, if their prey drive is very high, if they are attacking people, mauling or killing a dog, that's a very severe act. And the fact that most dogs in the city are just beautiful family pets. They're all just going up. Yes, I do. I'm sorry. I have two motions here. Thank you, Chair. There they are. My apologies. Thanks for the reminder. This is one basically for, I've had understood from legal that we have to be careful about the postal codes, but that if there's a severe, dangerous, very dangerous act, and we've heard there's 20, then that would be the full postal code would go in. And the other one is about what to do in the follow-up for once we change the bylaw, 349, to include condominiums, letting the condominiums know that that's happening, letting the owner know that's happening in a more formal way, that we do have the right. In other words, we've changed our bylaw to make sure everybody has to have that sign. So having now moved my motions up there, I'll go back to my praising of MLS and Animal Services and all the great work that they've been doing. I'll also just say I'd like them to think about an apartment may have, I don't know, 100 people, whether or not that's a postal code that could go up. It's a single postal code. It doesn't really identify, but I won't do that right now, but we can talk about it between now and council. But the attention, people are very nervous, and if you have been bitten or your child's been bitten, they need to know that we understand that's a serious situation, that owners must be in charge and in control of their dogs at all times, and if you're not, and your dog has now received an order, that this is a very serious consequence for you. We will make sure you're living up to that. We'll make sure annually that that sign is on your door, and we will do everything possible to keep people safe. In fact, the dog file and dangerous dogs started in public health, Councillor Moyes, where you're chairing, because it was seen as a health issue when we designated dogs to be the dangerous dog orders and the dangerous dog situation. So it's public health and safety. We're stepping up. There might be a few more tweaks, but I really think there's been an amazing amount of work done. And I know now the public would like us to make sure that dogs are staying on leashes where they're supposed to be on a leash. So next step, deal with the dangerous ones, get everybody with their dog on a leash, and learn how to be a good dog owner. I think those are the most important things. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers on this item? I just want to thank Councillor Fletcher for her dogged leadership on this for so many years. I remember being on the Board of Health briefly with you before 2011, and you were raising these issues at the Board of Health. I think that we have to recognize the tremendous work that Municipal Licensing and Standards has undertaken here, Animal Services, and this is of huge public interest and concern. I think the staff effort and councillors' effort and the contributions of many councillors who have been impacted here in committee as well is a reflection of the fact that the public cares profoundly about this, because it is a public health concern. A dangerous dog, an attack, a dog bite is a life-altering encounter. that can be just the fear, the trauma, or it can leave wounds that last a lifetime. And this is something that we really need to get a handle on, particularly post-pandemic. I'm glad that Councillor Fletcher raised the question about off-leash dogs, and I think that the campaign that's coming this spring to educate the public that doesn't matter how cute your dog is, how much you think that they're good with people and animals and other dogs, it's always a first time. There are no exceptions, and I think that we, as part of a growing city, where in many communities there's one dog per 2 people, we have to live together in a way that ensures that people are safe, that people who are uncomfortable with dogs are not pushed, attacked, or barked at, and that more important than anything, that we don't see ever again the disfigurement or the attacks that have been suffered by children by dogs. So this is really about responsible dog ownership. It's about disciplining humans to be better dog owners, and I wish that we could actually license humans and not dogs, because I think that's where the behavior really lies and where the accountability belongs. So thank you to all who have worked through this. This has been a huge effort, and the fact that the numbers are going down is something that the City of Toronto as a whole, we need to celebrate that. That's excellent work and an enormous amount of dedication in the public interest and for public safety. With that, I think that we don't have any other speakers, and we're going to go now to motions. On Councillor Fletcher's motion, all in favor? On the item as amended? Oh, sorry, we have another motion by Councillor Fletcher. On the second motion by Councillor Fletcher, all in favor? And now item as amended, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. On our final item concerning park ovens, that's EC 19.3, access to outdoor ovens in Toronto parks. We have run out of time to resolve some of the questions that are being asked by committee members. And so I am going to move to defer this item to the next meeting of ECDC.
What other questions that need to be asked or resolved? Just so I'm aware.
So yes, I was going to go there. Thank you, though, Councillor Moyse. There are a few questions that have been raised regarding the tandoor oven in the Thorncliffe neighborhood that are important to encapsulate, but more significantly, I think, are the questions that are being raised by Councillor Candevel and others who are not in committee but are speaking through him. And one of them has to do with the stewardship of the park, the need to have a source of funds at the beginning to actually spur this, and whether there is an important role for hosting and convening community, as Councillor Vice Chair Carroll characterized it, and whether having a kind of an anchor community organization or a collective that's dedicated to stewarding and educating about this piece of infrastructure could be in contravention of the policy being proposed. And those questions need to be resolved. And if we've misunderstood as a committee what was intended in the policy, this is an opportunity to gain clarity. Because if we're saying more open use, then how does that work with local stewarding? And so these are questions that we can resolve between now and the next meeting, I hope. Put your mic on, Sylvie.
Sorry, Councillor, through you, Madam Chair, I'm just thinking that, I mean, for me, the policy is very clear, and that what's being proposed here, would it be out of line to suggest maybe have it go, pass it here now, and, when it gets to council, people can bring motions for it?
I think that it may be better to bring it back and have an opportunity to ask questions again, because I believe that if we try to resolve this on the floor of council, there will be some members may not have had the benefit of the deliberations that take place at this committee, and it could end up becoming something that's far beyond the scope of what was directed by council for Parks and Recreation to carry out.
Okay, thank you for that.
Any other speakers on this? Okay, so
Councillor Candeville?
yes, go ahead, Councillor Candeville, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, for moving deferral on this item that will allow us more time to deliberate on the questions and concerns. I think one of the things that I want to address, I think there's a bit of maybe lack of clarity. Perhaps Regent Park was financed through Section 37, but not all the sites were. I think, in fact, they were from Central. And secondly, perhaps during the next course of the next month, I'll dig deeper. But I think there's perhaps a superficial element of or understanding of equity. I think central to equity-seeking work is the idea of intent versus impact. The intent, of course, to respond to community voice, but the impact is it select certain neighborhoods and parts of our city, predominantly Old City of Toronto and North York, that have received these outdoor ovens. And on that question of responding to community voice, that is a function of social capital, right? It's certain communities that have the ability to articulate and advocate for investment. So I think we need to be conscious of the depth and the layers when we talk about equity and equity of access specifically. So I think the deferral gives us the time to unpack how we approach this in a substantive way. And I know there are other councillors as well who have echoed their concerns, and I appreciate your leadership in giving this more time and thought. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. To speak, Councillor Fletcher.
Yeah, I think it's very good that we're going to defer this. It's obviously a very interesting topic for everybody. I would wonder if when we have our neighborhood improvement areas, because in order to bring people together and find their interests, we have, let's say we've got Lawrence Heights. There are other areas where we have neighborhood improvement areas. How are the parks a central focus for a neighborhood improvement area and bringing people together? And I agree with everybody that how you bring people together in a community makes them stronger. How they have things to do in a community makes it stronger, makes it safer. There's community cohesion. And so our big equity strategy is our neighborhood improvement areas across the city to make sure everybody is advancing. And when this comes back, probably who knows when it will come back, I'd like to make sure that through that program and other secondary plans, everything that we're doing, talking about parks, talking about community, that we're looking at who helps bring people together outside of the councillors, because either you have a community group that's advancing itself, or you may have a councillor that brings people together to look at the oven, or whatever else might go in that park. So I don't want to get into a big fight about we didn't get something, we got something. I think we should be excited that people have come together to make something happen in their neighborhoods. The same way as I'm very supportive when people want to have a rink. I think, okay, put some water in, make it happen. If that's not happening everywhere, then we certainly need to make sure that that's equal access across the city. And that you can actually decide, I've got people coming forward, they want this in the community. How can we make that happen? Are there financial barriers? Are there enough people? And I think we've all had situations where one person wants something and there's not a lot of people behind that person. So why I'm mentioning neighborhood improvement areas and other things we're already doing is because there's already collectives there, such as the Regent Park, which is a poor community. There's no more equity deserving area than Regent Park, 2,500 low-income people in one place, to build that oven into its plans and build other things in. So That's a direction that isn't just a parks direction, that's a direction for SDFA, it's a direction for those who are working in community across the city. So I'm pretty sure, Madam Chair, that that can be added in.
Thank you. I'm sure that park staff is listening to the comments, and thank you for that.
Chair Bravo, I'd like a recorded vote.
Seeing no other speakers on the deferral.
Chair Bravo, I'd like a recorded vote.
On the deferral?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the deferral, Councillor Fletcher, Councillor Carroll, Councillor Bravo, Councillor Moyes, Councillor Malik, Councillor Kendeval. That motion carries.
Councillor Mantis, are you voting on this?
And Councillor Mantis. That's a
Okay.
unanimous vote.
Unanimous recorded vote. So that concludes our agenda. I want to thank all the deputants who have joined us today and all the committee members and certainly all the staff and particularly our hardworking clerks. Have a great week.